Hello everyone, just a short one today. This is my sort of workbench. It was my Humbrol paint station which I bought a number of years ago, and I think it was about £20 or so. It's actually the best thing I ever bought. I don't have a permanent room or place to do my painting, so this little paint station, complete with its little nooks and crannies for paints and its cutting mat, has been it's been very good. I mean, I have to sort of get my paints out and get the paint station out and settle down with the lamp and do a bit of painting and then put it all away afterwards. So you know, it's handy in a flat at least. It's quite a handy thing to have. The figures that you see before you are, you can see the box top art at the back there. It's Ultimate Ratio, Medieval Europe, in this case Swiss infantry, from two particular cantons or boroughs, I suppose you might call them, Bern and Uri, dating from the sort of 1460s. I'm kind of midway through them. They're very nice figures to paint. There's minimal flash to clean off of them. I've gone over them with a gloss. I started off with a gloss varnish in order to stiffen the figures up a little bit, the spears and the halberds, and after that I go on with a grey undercoat, and then I went mainly with a sort of plate armour silver. You know, I tend to go with the kind of blocking method, doing the biggest areas first, and then it's anything goes. As you see from the artwork, they're a bit like landsnakes, the old figures who you know, wore some really crazy combinations of colours. So I've got an awful lot still to do. You know, I've been doing 28mm for a long time, so I've taken a step down to 1/72 now. I quite enjoy doing these figures, as I mentioned in previous videos. You know, I've got a lot of nostalgia for the Airfix era that we all went through, and you know, I admire Gary of Marksman's Gaming's collection immensely. It's really I was inspired to get back into 1/72 by Gary's work. He really puts out some marvellous collections there. You know, his paint work is really nice, and you know, some lovely little armies he's got there. And although I'm not doing them for wargaming, I'm doing them just to collect. I've mounted them on the 1p size bases, and you know, I shall actually just make do with the two boxes. I'm also going to start, I've got to pick up some other boxes, Burgundian army, which would have been the sometimes opposition, sometimes allies of these figures, and so I'm going to try and maintain an interest in this period for a little while. I say try, like most of us. I have this habit of being easily sidetracked. If a documentary comes on this afternoon about the American Civil War, I'm hard pressed to not be drawn into it. But my first love is really colonial, both the Sudan Wars and Zulu Wars. Although I have been through them several times in different scales. So you know, anything goes. You know, as I say, it doesn't take very much to get me going in terms of starting a new period, and that's one of the things I've got to watch out for. It's just never finishing anything. I mean, I was glad to finish the King and Country box from Warlord Games in 28mm. It was the first time I've ever started and finished something. I've got, in common with most of us, I'm sure Gary as well, half-finished sets of figures laying all over the place. I'm determined to actually finish up these. I'm going to try and give it everything I've got. I started, I was going to get my flags from Marksman. I can't remember the name. Sorry, it's completely gone. But the flag manufacturer I get cloth flags from, and I was actually going to go with that, but they come with such nicely engraved flags that I'm just going to pick them out in colour and go with what the kit comes with. Hardest thing really is, like when doing a Confederate army, is to try and make sure that you randomise the colours. Just you don't predominate with too much red or too much purple or anything, and just trying to change them around. You know, some of the tunics are quartered, and there's a lot going on there in terms of colour, which is fine, but it's going to take me twice as long as I normally take, which is quite a long time as it is. And you know, I've got about 50 figures here, and I don't get an awful lot of time to do them, to be honest. I get a half an hour here and there. I try to do that that old thing of doing at least a half an hour a day, and so far that's worked out not too bad. I've got to this point in about a week or so. So you know, I shall continue to block in the colours and then start going for the fine detail, the straps and buckles and belts and pouches and all of these things, and I'll finish off with a good wash, which is my way of covering up most of my errors. And they've been most enjoyable. I've got the Burgundian at War Osprey title and the Swiss at War. Normally when I start a new period, I end up buying about 4 or 5 different books, and it's a expensive way of going about it. I try to get as much as I can in terms of Osprey reference and try and immerse myself in the period. I haven't done that quite so much with these. I've actually just made do with the previously mentioned Osprey titles, but I've got a very basic understanding of what was going on at the time. You know, the different some of the different little battles that were going on. Fornover, I believe there's a campaign title from Osprey on that, dealing with Italians versus French, and not getting into it too heavily, but just for the pleasure of painting some very brightly coloured figures. And as I say, I'm going to try and get these as nice as I can, and then I'll start on my Burgundians. But that's all for today. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch up with you later. Bye.